So welcome to the Node.js N-API Team meeting for October 28th, 2019. We'll follow our standard approach for the agenda. We'll start it with, does anybody have any issues or announcements that they'd like to share?
I would like to welcome LegendaCast to a list of Node.js core collaborators and to the Node add-on API collaborators.
Welcome, and that's great. Have we added him to the front list?
I don't believe so, but that's a PR that he can submit.
Okay, so yep, that would be great. And I saw that you nominated him for the core collaborator, so that's a good thing too.
Yeah, and he's had his onboarding, so he's already approved a few PRs, so it's really cool.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, if not, let's go through the list of issues we have tagged to go through. The first one is 373. Do we need some additional async worker variants? This one, there was, I'm clicking through to it.
Sorry, Michael, there is a Kevin in the panel list.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me get to participants, promote. Okay, welcome, Kevin.
Hello, guys.
Hi. Okay, so we're just looking at the first issue, which was, do we need additional async progress worker variants? There is a PR from LegendaCast. I think last I looked, like Gabriel, you had a few additional comments and suggestions.
Yes, if I remember correctly. Let me see.
Although I think there's been some updates since then, so maybe if you can take another look.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping that one's getting pretty close to landing, being ready to land. Anything we want to discuss on that before we move on?
No.
Oh, right, yes.
Okay, if not, then the next issue is number 367, the workshop. Nick, do you have an update on that, or?
Yes, I just posted some comments on the about the gym's work, and Jim, it's just suggestions. If you want follow, it's okay for me. And I updated the list of native add-on that we can propose for the porting activity. In these issues, you can find the link of the spreadsheet. I can post on chat here, and
What are the ones in red? What is the meaning of the red?
Because in the red, these native add-on has have a PR or are already ported, and you added the sodium native, and it's the first one, in the list, and
Yeah.
it has a PR, but
Yeah, it should also be red.
yeah, just but they did this work, I think, some months ago. So I don't know what problem they have, and Solid Native is already written using NaN.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure what they're waiting for either. They are on a thread, so, or on a thread, geez, on a on a branch. So they have a branch, and I don't know why they are doing the work on a branch, and I don't know how much the branches have diverged in terms of like the actual payload.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, maybe we need to like ping them and see where that is.
okay, so I can do this, and yeah. What I saw is that they use the C API.
Yeah.
So, yeah, directly, yes. Okay, I will ping them, and we will see what happen. And in the meantime, I added the other native add-ons from the line 37 to 43. And yeah, it's new native add-on that I found. And here there are two of them, USB dash detection and sharp, that are big. So I targeted them like advanced, because yeah, it's a lot of code to port.
Now, I guess for the other ones, we sent an email to the maintainers just to make sure they were okay being on our list. We should do the same thing for the new ones as well, I think.
Sorry, Michael.
Well, like we want to, if we're going to ask people to potentially like write a PR, we should send an email to the maintainers asking if they're okay. Like, here's a little bit of context in terms of, we're doing this workshop. As part of the workshop, we want to have a session where people work on porting modules. Is it okay if we include your module on the list?
So yeah, we can maybe we can open an issue on these repos and ask if they won't help for to port the add-on if they are interested in this, because yeah, if they don't want, it's yeah, it's not fair for who started the porting in our workshop, because we will do the work and they will never see the result. It's,
yeah, it's that, and also we don't want to create noise for the maintainers if they're not interested.
So what do you think? I can open an issue on all these repo, and maybe ask for ask to the maintainers.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I think that open an issue is more useful than send an email.
Yep. No, I think that's a good way to do it.
Okay. I in this week I will work on this task.
Okay. And I guess like when we go to the conference, we'll take out all the red ones, right? Which are the kind of already.
The red has already ported. Yeah.
Well, they're not necessarily already ported, right? They have PRs at least, unless we get the author of the PR at the conference, in which case it will be a continuation.
Mac key press, for example, is in an API module now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, node macro time, node time. So I checked in the last week.
Oh, they're already okay.
Yeah, they are already written in an API.
Well, I think maybe I'm fairly certain that Node icon v isn't, but there is this PR that we did last year at NodeConf EU, right? So if we can get somebody to pick it up and address those final comments, then.
Well, Nikolai's has been doing that.
Yeah. So I will take a look at the PR and hope to receive an answer. But essentially these modules are ported. Maybe if you know some simple module to port, it could be great to add at this list, because we have a small time. We have almost two hours for the workshop. I think that it's 1 hour and 50 minutes. And if we will take about 20 minutes for the slides and presentation, so at the end we have 1 hour and a half. It's not many time. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, although I think Jim is putting together some more workshop elements, so it might take people a little longer to get through.
Yeah.
But still good to have the list and be able to go into this if people have time.
You know, even if we formulate this as sort of a call to action, and just you know, at the end of the workshop, after people have gone through the examples and all that, you know, to put this link up on the board and say, hey, go there, and there are a bunch of modules that you can actually get your hands dirty with and start porting, you know, offline. That I think might also be of some value.
Yeah, that's good. If we have time, we can, you know, get people started. Otherwise, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Maybe we can tweet and ask if someone needs help to port. I don't know.
Yeah, open DMs and stuff. Yeah, I would certainly make myself available offline, like during the conference, just to sit down.
I guess the question is, should we do that in advance? Like, should we now say, hey, we're doing a workshop at the upcoming conference. If you have a, you know, a module and would like a PR, if you have a native module and would like a PR to convert it to N-API, you know, we're happy to add you to the list of ones we may get people started to. Just let us know.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Yeah, maybe we should tweet that.
Anybody want to volunteer to do that? Or
yeah, I can do it. I just need a link to the actual conference workshop thingy. I'll have to find it on the schedule, and then I'll put that link in the tweet.
Yeah, here, I think we can find that. It's like Node.
Don't bother pasting it. Okay. I still can't see the UI.
Yeah, okay, that won't help you, but yes, okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's
because you cannot see.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay. I can't.
And I added this comment, Jim, like
Thank you,
I said, and I worked on some content about the slide. I posted on the chat, Michael.
Okay. Oops. Let me find that. Where's the chat?
And I won't improve all the design, but if we agree about the content.
So any particular one you want me to go to, or?
Essentially, 21. The slide 21. Here, okay, in the slide 20, I just organized the story like a timeline. And then in 21, I want talk about what we did in the recent in recent time. And if you have some suggestion about what is more important, or you want focus on some of these points here, I'm open to all to have every suggestion. To any suggestion.
The only thing I might wonder is, like, would it make sense to show the releases that came out and had any of these in them, or? Right, like the TFSN was probably added in a particular release, right?
And 4.
And yeah, it was
yeah,
NAPI 4,
okay.
but a particular Node.js on API release as well.
Okay, I did the okay, and the release when the future was added, or when the future was considered stable.
I think it's kind of interesting, like probably it would be because we issued, like, maybe one of the slides for what happened in the last year would be N-API 4 and N-API 5.
Yes.
Because that's kind of like when you got stable new features,
essentially,
right?
yes.
And then, separately, so that could be how the stable stuff is, and then separately you could just say, and here's some of the other things that were worked on that either are not actually part of an actual release, or were, are still experimental. Because I think like Big Int might be another one that fits into there, right? Is it still? There's still one of them that's experimental, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Big Int because in 8 the engine doesn't support it, so we can only take it out of experimental after we drop support for 8.
Yeah, well, we could release a 6, but that would mean we wouldn't be able to release a 7.
Yes,
until
exactly.
after weight went away,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think just thinking organizationally wise, like something that says NAPI 4 and 5, probably a slide that says like what happened to Node add-on API, and then maybe a third slide that says these other things like, added support for pre-build, the guide to update NAPI that aren't really necessarily tied to one or the other, but are good things.
So what I understood is that I organize with what we introduced with N-API 4, N-API 5. So we are saying what we did in the core. Then I know the slide where I explain what we did in Node.js N-API, and then another slide what we did about tool that developers can use.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good flow.
Okay.
There any other slides you want us to look at in particular, or?
Just to say, Jim, the 29 and 30, these folder schema is the same that you can obtain with the generator. So it's and the same is for the slide 30 about the binding zip file.
Yeah.
And when you will end the tutorials, we need to add content on the slide 32.
Okay, I didn't catch that, Nicola.
So there is here I leave a to do. So
okay, very good.
And
right, so these two just to have the full set.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Michael, in slide 9, I just reported what is a native add-on. Just because maybe our attendee never see a native add-on before. I don't know. And I want to just say 2 words about what is a native add-on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm wondering, I'm going back to what our title was. Was N-API in the title still?
Yeah, next day, the first day. Yes, okay.
Okay, so that is, yes, okay. I'm thinking next time we probably just want to make it.
If you want remove this slide.
Like next time we probably just want to make it building native add-ons.
Yeah.
Right, like.
Yeah.
It's and we can get in the beginning that like, hey, there's 2 ways to do it. The preferred way is N-API, and here's the workshops for how you do it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that this is good. I was just double checking what we'd actually put into the conference outline. So this matches, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And take a look at the content. Maybe there are many errors and fix or maybe report to me, and I will fix.
Okay, so that's good. Seems like making good progress there. Anything more we want to discuss on this before we move on?
If we could go back to the issue, please, Michael.
Yes, that's right. I should have done that. Okay, so this is workshop, right?
Yes. So,
there you go. Yep.
Okay. So where I can really use some help here is the reviews. Nicola, thank you for your review. But I'm not exactly clear that I've got all of the topics that need to be discussed under the 4 sections that are called bare outline. So if I could please get some feedback on what topics are important to cover under those 4 sections, that would be enormously helpful to me.
Okay, so like for example, these ones.
In my opinion, if I can,
Yeah. Yes.
The most important is thread safe function.
Okay.
And how to use object reference, because we have we had many issues where developers asked us how to reference an object or a function, and so it could be useful in my opinion, have a tutorial to explain this concept.
Okay.
And
what about the different like scopes, handle scope, escapable scope? Do we get questions about those frequently?
Actually, I think people don't realize that those are available most often because they don't produce too many native values. Usually, it's like you know, you validate the input coming in from JavaScript, you convert it to native types, and then you get a value from the native side and you convert it to JavaScript, and that's it, right? So there aren't enough values present to really load the scope that encloses the call into the native. So the fact that you can save a little bit of memory by using scopes doesn't strike me as something that comes into question very often. You know, it's mostly for people that deal with large arrays, right? And now that we have array buffer, the number of those people should be going down, right? So I think the availability of scopes, as far as I can tell, hasn't really come up. But so which is to say that it's more of one of those specialized areas which you can really get into when you find your memory ballooning out of proportion. You know, so. But until you run into that, you don't even realize that there are scopes and that scopes can be managed and so forth.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I don't remember very many issues being open saying, hey, I don't quite get this or what's going on. So.
Yeah.
I think the thread safe functions, it would be good. I mean, I don't know if I know, Gabriel, you wrote an example.
Yeah, but that's plain C. I don't think I have any examples that are
okay.
That are Node add-on API.
Because doing something like, going through something like that would make sense, right? Sort of building up the example and explaining the steps.
Yeah. I mean, for that we could just use the test, because I believe Legendicast wrote that test, and he basically used the thread safe function example from I'm sorry, he used the thread safe function test from core, and he just rewrote it using Node add-on API. So, but either way, we can definitely use that because it's a good example.
So I think then, Jim, if we looked at that example and then made the outline of that, basically saying, here's the steps to basically build in the pieces that show how to use it.
Okay.
And so that's sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
It's just sort of like, I don't know how easy it will be to pull out the steps, but it'd be kind of like, okay, here you can put the scaffolding in place. Okay, here you can do this, and here we're showing you sending data back and forth. Now, I suspect it'll test, we may not want to cover absolutely everything that the test has, but it'll probably be a good starting point.
Okay, I will look through the test and see how that's put together.
Okay.
So I also have a suggestion, possibly.
Yes.
So my company, we are planning on open sourcing one of our utilities that we have that listens for network interface changes. And I saw on that previous list of modules, there was one for USB detection. So the thing that we have is pretty similar to that, but for network interface changes. And I feel we're pretty close to open sourcing it, probably within the next month. And I think it uses the thread say functions, and it's a pretty simple use case where we it also extends the event emitter. So I think it would probably, if we had maybe like a accompanying blog post or something like that that explains the code sections, maybe that would be useful as well.
Yeah, it was great for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that doing that kind of PR definitely sounds useful.
Okay. So I'll give you that information as soon as it's available then, Jim.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
And
I guess for context awareness, you already have
something. I have something of sections there. Gabriel, I didn't know if there were other things or anybody that you feel should be covered under this.
I am working on a slide that I was supposed to be working on, but didn't get a chance to work on for context awareness. Just pointing out the dangers of leaving memory around. And so I will add that to the presentation, and then we can build off of that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, any other ones you want to look at, Jim?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, anything more to talk about on this topic before we move on? No, okay, so let's move on to basically we're at the list of issues raised by module owners. Any ones in particular that people want to bring up, discuss?
Yes, we had an issue come up that basically resulted in having to push a change into V8. Anna and I were having fun with that one. So basically, when people were freeing their buffers, they were finding that it sometimes crashes. Apparently, it crashes even in production, like in Node.js production versions provided by us. And we were both a bit taken aback because it's essentially, speaking of handles, it's essentially a handle leak. So what we ended up doing was a temporary solution in Node.js where we just declare a handle scope before we retrieve the node environment. And Anna pushed a change into V8, which will do the same thing, but it will create the handle scope inside V8 before it retrieves the pointer that is essentially the node environment. It's like this internal aligned pointer that is essentially a property. It's a property get inside the engine, and so it needs a scope. But it's not obvious that it needs a scope because you're just giving it a thing and you're getting back a pointer. So it doesn't look like it might need a scope, but it does. And so we have like a heavily commented solution in Node.js saying that, we need to declare handle scope here. We know it's not obvious, and once this CL lands in V8 and there's a link to the CL in the code comment, then we can remove this line basically.
So which versions did it affect?
I think 12.5. Let me see. Okay, so the issue in core is 30127.
Okay, hold on. So no, okay, node.
Yeah, 12.5.
So sorry, that was
30127.
And this was for any native add-ons or just N-API ones?
Well, N-API ones, because N-API ones use a set immediate to free the buffer. So, and then the set immediate requires the node environment, and to retrieve the node environment, unobviously requires declaring a handle scope first. So, so if you look at the stack trace there, frame number 12 is an API. So finalize buffer callback. We use so this finalize buffer
Okay.
callback
Yep.
seeks to retrieve the node environment in order to attach an immediate, which is then responsible for actually freeing the buffer. And it's unable to do that because as soon as it attempts to retrieve the node environment, that crashes because there is no handle scope, because it's coming straight from the garbage collector. It's not coming from a JavaScript frame. So yeah, that's and the fix is 30130.
Okay.
Well, that's the temporary fix in Node.js with a big fat fix me comment there.
Right. So this is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is not something that people can work around because the stack doesn't involve any of their code, so they don't get a chance to inject a handle scope.
Right. Okay. Okay. So basically, it's this is like, I just want to see the.
The interesting thing is that it happens on Mac, and it doesn't happen on. I tried to reproduce. I just copied the code verbatim almost from the bug report, and I was unable to reproduce it. And Anna was sort of perplexed as well, that why is this happening with production versions, because V8 is not built with checks in place, right?
Right.
But apparently on Mac it happens even with production versions. So yeah.
So, but it's well, I don't know that the checks matter. I think it's that more that we're likely getting lucky or unlucky, isn't it?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Right. It's like if you don't have a scope on the stack and you need one, then potentially something will go wrong in the memory, and if you don't overwrite things that cause a crash, right?
Yeah, that's actually conceivable, but the fact that the stack is so obvious, and the fact that it ends. Where is the stack? Let me check the stack again before I say something that's not true. Yeah, so it ends in a fatal error from V8, right? So that's an intentional abort, right?
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
It says cannot create handle without a handle scope. So that means V8 is imposing its own constraints that are fatally
right. Okay, so why did it not happen on other?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
okay. Well, there is one platform dependent and real time dependent aspect here, which is the garbage collector itself, right? So the garbage collector has some real platform dependencies and time dependencies, and so the stacks may never line up like this on other platforms, but there's still good reason to believe that you would get into a situation quite often where you're coming out of the event loop and going straight into the garbage collector and then unreffing a buffer. So it seems like it should happen often, and yet somehow it doesn't.
Right. Okay. Well. Okay, so that's a fix which will fix the 12 line, and if it's only the 12 line affected, that's good.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah, I don't know how far back it goes. I mean, I can't reproduce this even, right? I don't have a Mac. So I tried reproducing it on Linux because it stands to reason that it would happen, but of course it doesn't. So, I'm not sure how far back we can port this.
Okay, how about a test case? Like, is there a test? Did you manage a test case that does reproduce, or?
No, I couldn't. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm thinking, because like the PR ought to have a test case, so I'm thinking maybe I can finagle something, but I suspect that if I say like global.gc, then that might be inside of a handle scope, and if it synchronously goes down all the way to freeing the buffer, then this will not happen because, well, there is a handle scope because it's coming from JavaScript, because that's where I said global.gc.
Right, because we must already have a test that actually says run a finalizer, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But that test uses global.gc, because global.gc is indeed deterministic at that point, despite what the V8 folks say. Global.gc, we have never had it not be deterministic.
Right. Yeah.
No
guarantees, but.
However, I'm thinking maybe if we called global.gc, but not using the JavaScript interface, but rather the V8 interface directly from an event loop. Maybe then, you know, we can do this and see if it crashes. In fact, come to think of it, this is probably a scenario we should be introducing into all our tests, which rely on the garbage collector. You know, so wherever the JavaScript says global.gc, there should be a second version of the test that says global.gc, but does say so in a stack that doesn't involve JavaScript at all. You know, just so we can test these
right, without JavaScript.
It's exactly.
We'd want to centralize that somehow. So like if somebody's writing it on a different VM, we don't have like now V8 specific code, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the ability to call the garbage collector without involving JavaScript is something that VMs have in common. Like,
right.
I think JerryScript has like Jerry cleanup and that kind of thing.
So I'm just saying we should put it into like in the test case, we should make the V8 specific code only one copy, so that if we do need to, like if somebody wanted to run the tests on another platform, they'd only have one place to change.
Yeah. The thing is though, the impression I'm getting is that it's quite involved because you know, we would be providing a new facility essentially, right, for calling the garbage collector straight from the event loop, right, and the tests would not be able to immediately make use of that facility, right. So the test would basically be something like you know, create the buffer, and then instead of calling global.gc, you would call, you know, attach handle to event loop, which then runs global.gc. You know, so it would be the second version of the test would be like that. However, unlike the first version of the test, the second one would not be able to then immediately check that the effect has happened, because it would not be synchronous, right? Because global.gc is synchronous, but this would not be. This would need another iteration of the event loop. So if we do provide such a facility, then we would have to make it look like it's asynchronous, right? And then
right, yeah.
and then you could start it with a flag, and if you say sync, then it just calls global.gc, and then the concluding function, the callback. And if it's asynchronous, then it attaches the handle, and then when the handle has fired, then it calls and does the assertions. So yeah, it would be a bit involved. We'd probably have to refactor the tests in order to account for this.
Right. Okay. Well, we don't want to. I don't think. Like this sounds like something we want to get a fix out relatively quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we also kind of like if we want to be, you know, if we want to prevent this in the future, then we should definitely rewrite the tests to account for this possibility.
At least one test, right? Like it doesn't need to be testing all the different combinations, but
well,
one which makes sure you can actually finalize without a scope on it.
Yeah. But I mean, there are. Yeah, but we finalize different things, right? So we have at least like 3 or 4 different finalizers, right? So the finalizer for a node buffer is different from a finalizer for an array buffer, and it's different from a finalizer for attached data. So we don't have too many different kinds, but we do have more than one.
Yep. Oh yeah, yes.
So it would be a few scenarios.
Sure.
But anyway, so that's what transpired over the weekend.
Okay, no, that's good to know. Okay, and it's good to. It's just 3 days ago, so that's over the weekend.
Yeah.
It's good. At least the message was helpful in terms of what's going on, right?
Yes. The stack was great.
Okay. Any others that people want to bring up, mention?
I've been working on the thread safe function copy constructor.
Right. Let's go there.
I'm not sure the current status of the build, because the one on GitHub is green, but I'm not sure the one that you linked to earlier or before. I resolved the issues that I found.
Right.
One of the errors that was on Mac was complaining about the use of std future.
Right. Okay. So maybe it was like it's using a C++ 17 feature that we don't have in some of our compilers or something.
Yeah, that's usually the case. I've run into standard or this STL. No, not STL. What do you call that? This Lipstead C++ issues many times on Mac. Like things that are supposed to be part of the standard are not. They're missing on Mac. I've had this more than once. Like there was like what was that? The 2 integer or something like that was missing at some point. So you had to set the Xcode to I don't know what in order to actually to get like real C++ 11 support. So now I guess it's the same thing with 17.
Right, and it's that we only use we use a particular version of Xcode for building older versions, right?
Yeah.
Maybe yeah, it's the targeting because yeah.
Yeah, I was a little confused because the node name says OSX 1011. So that's why I was thinking it should be targeting 1011, but then the error specifically says that it was added in 10.8.
Yeah, well, it's targeting 10.8. So basically, we're building on 10.11, but somewhere I'm pretty sure in our build config we say the target is OSX 10.8.
Gotcha.
Because that's how far back we support, right?
Right, and we're thinking of upping that for master, but for older versions, and I think even up to it may have been upped for. I'd have to look at the here. We can actually go find that. I think.
Are you sure? Because I remember that from the 12 node 12 was 10.10.
Right, it might be 10. You're right. 12. Here, let's see. I think in building. So. Okay.
It's 10.10. The macOS version min is
Right.
10.10, and it's equivalent to target. I don't remember the.
Right. So I'm just looking at for 12. Right. Yeah. So for 12, you're right. It was targeting 10.10. Let's go back to 10. What's that now? Where are we? It should be in here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, but so the issue is in the tests. It's not the actual implementation.
Right.
So it's either that I can change the implementation of the test somehow to do the same thing, or is this target incorrect?
We used the 10.7. I think.
You see it's in here. I'm just looking for, we may not have been as good about saying the target here. Target. I can't find it. Target. Mac OS X. I guess it's going to be in the source code, but
yeah, on the GPI. Sorry. Okay, note.
This one GPI or JIP?
Or common. I don't remember.
Common. Okay, let's take a look. Target. OS X is that? Okay, so this says right. So that basically is mass. Oh, that's 12. Right.
Yeah, you're on 12.
So now let's go to 10. OSX. Right. So 10.7. You're right.
10.7.
It was 10.7 and 10, 10.10 and 12 and above.
I see.
And an 8. 8, I don't think it was any earlier than 10.7, but.
I see. All right.
So yeah, it's probably that. Well, yeah, even for 10 is going to be around for a while. So it's probably we need to refactor the test to use something that is available.
Okay, no worries then.
And I don't know, I was assuming that maybe it was the same kind of failure on AIX, although in that case it would be a matter of what was supported by GCC 6.
No, that was some other error regarding I didn't explicitly use the STD thread.
Okay.
Yeah, that was programmer error there.
Okay, so great, good. So you
But
got
everything else, yeah, everything else should be good except for that red one. So the future one. So I can work on that tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Any others that people want to call out? This one, do we want to talk about it at all about this?
Maybe we can. Sorry. Can you open the issue about the new release?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because yeah, I think that too. I don't know if someone want add yeah, the next release to 5.7.0.
Yep.
So I don't know if everyone agree with all these things for the new release. And maybe Gabriel, yeah, we'll add the 5.7.3 on the next release.
Yes. Yeah. We can. Yes, but please have another look, because I changed it, like after talking to you, I believe. I changed it to keep Node.js 6, but to move it to the allowed failures category. So, and I added Node 13. I don't know, maybe we don't need it because we're only testing LTS, but it's kind of the current version, and we don't yet have a 14.
I added 13 to the Jenkins test, so I think we should have it in there too, because it's like we want the current and the LTS versions.
Yeah. Okay, good. So then basically I was going to remove Node 6 altogether, but after talking to Nicola, we kind of decided to keep it, but to move it to the allowed failures for Travis. So we're still kind of keeping an eye on it, but not really actively. So if somebody points us to a build that failed on 6, then maybe we'll look, but it's not a priority.
Right. Okay. Because 6 is end of line, right?
Yeah, it is. It's end of life. Yeah.
Yeah. The motivation was that for me it could be useful. I know that maybe we are adding a breakage for the 6, even if it's old, it's dismissed. And,
yeah, no, it's good to have an idea of how breaking with the things we are.
And I'm thinking that in January, so we can remove the SRC folder that contains the stub.
Yes.
Because Node 8 will be out of maintenance in the 1st January. So it could.
I don't know if we do that, shouldn't we then also remove 6, right? Because I mean, at that point we will not be supporting even all versions of 8. So it kind of doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Because yeah, like 8.0.0 will not work, right? So and so 6 will definitely not work. Well, actually, ironically, 6 will work, but 8.0.0 will not. So all this sort of turbulence that we had at the beginning, we need to cut it off at some point.
Yeah, I think the idea of waiting till January and then doing that makes sense.
Okay, so let's leave it like this, and then in January we drop 6 and 8.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
So I do think it's worth talking a bit about this one, 572 as well. Like dropping all the deprecated features. I wasn't sure we really wanted to do that. Like I know we're doing a Semver major release, but I think we were only sort of saying, yeah, let's do a Semver major because none of the majors we thought would affect anybody.
Right. No, yeah. I agree completely. Like I'm perfectly fine with leaving the deprecated stuff in there for another major release.
Okay,
specifically to give people some time. So this Semver major, it will truly be deprecated, and then the next one it'll be gone. I think V8 does something similar as well. They keep.
But I'm even around. Like, is it worth like rushing to pull it out? Right, because until we pull it out, we haven't ever actually made anything we think is going to break anybody. So I'd almost be tempted to just leave it there. Yeah, it's not the preferred way to go, but it's clearly identified through the files. Just leave it there until we run into an issue where we really can't, right?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, we need not be aggressive about it.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, is it, you're gonna close it or?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Let me just, where's that one? Which one was that? 573, 572?
572.
572. Why is this not open? Okay. And it's gone.
Okay. Okay, so then in terms of the rest of this list, milestone, right? Or no, this one, right?
Kevin, I don't remember the pull request that we need to approve to merge.
It's in your list here, that last one there.
Okay.
Yeah, the TS implement copy constructor. Yes, that's there.
And I guess this one too, we agreed to defer.
Yes.
Okay, so right. Okay, right. So the async progress worker, we're close. Experimental, this one, yeah. I think that's a good list of what we want to get in. Are there any others that aren't on the list that people wanted to see?
I don't know where it is now, but it was the discussion with the thread safe function having the constructor of an existing N-API thread safe function and using the blocking call or non-blocking call. If you go back to the previous issue, I think I linked it there.
Which issue is that? This one or?
Yeah, here. It's
got a number?
No, I haven't created a PR yet because it's dependent on the thread safe function change because it uses the private member data.
Okay.
But I don't know if that is something that we would want, or is it a good to have? I mean, I don't know what's the pressure with the release date.
I don't think we have a major pressure. It was more of, we have a bunch of stuff. It's probably time to do one.
And it looks like we're having some enthusiasm for the async progress worker there from the comment in the release issue.
Yeah. This guy pinged me by mail, and yeah, I explained that he has two possibilities, or using the trace safe function, or maybe waiting for a async progress worker. That is what he needs to do. Um, um,
The solution for
yeah, for
yes,
him. Yeah, it's the right
but
solution for him.
yeah.
So you can take that as some kind of pressure.
No. I think that yeah, we need to take the right time, and in my opinion, it could be a great introduce this new stuff for the workshop. So I think that we have a month.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Kevin, you said you already started to work on this one. Do you know, is it weeks, months? What's your thought?
Oh, no, it's pretty much, I can push it. It's just that the change with the private data of the copy constructor with the unique pointer going to a normal pointer. I'll push it after we call.
Okay.
I guess we can get it started looking at. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then I would just add it to the other, like to the milestone list, because it sounds like if it's not going to be a long time, it seems like a good candidate to have included.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Any other ones that people want to bring up? Let me just go back to Node.js N-API. Got these pull requests. I think we'll be pretty close.
No. So there is this preliminary refactoring from Babylon native.
Yep.
And but I see a little the code, and they use to exclude function. Future they use to define a constant, a macro, but maybe my thinking was to create two separate header, like we did in the core, and maybe Gabriel suggested the same, or maybe Legend Cast. I don't remember.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, if they wanna push that, it would be good to have the same sort of separation instead of all those if defs, to just have like, separate thing.
Is there any complication though in C++? Like it's pretty straightforward in C, right? Where each function stands on its own. In this case, is there any cases where it's like you're removing methods from a class and the class needs to exist in both, but you want to have a subset of methods?
I don't have the perspective to tell you for sure about everything, but I think the attempt will let us know whether that is the case or not. It shouldn't be. My instinct is that it shouldn't be, because things are separate. We shouldn't be using like Node.js specific features in any language specific class. But if we are, then this exercise will certainly reveal that.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So it would be a I forget what the H file is that has the headers, but it would be that which then imports the JavaScript equivalent to give you the full thing. Like the existing one would be the same. It just would have most of the code moved to the JavaScript
That's
generic one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's how we did it in core as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
should be, so what is that? I'm just gonna. So can we come up with the names? Oops, now I've lost my, right, it should be refactored into 2 files. Existing. What would we call the other one? JS API?
N-API. I don't know, JS-NAPI maybe, .h.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we have N-API, or, but it's N, the reason to take out the N is that says Node, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, JS API then, or
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because JS native API is kind of taken.
Right.
But maybe JS-API or something.
I think just JS API.
Okay, yeah,
That's
JS
fine?
API. Yeah, sure, yeah, that's, yeah, an API and JS API, yeah, not bad.
API. Does that sound, so sorry, I guess you can't see, I've written in like any, discussed in the API team meeting, there's consensus this should be refactored into 2 files, napi.h, the existing one that should include the new file, and JS API.h, the new file with the non-node specific APIs. API.
Yep.
Instead of using that.
Okay, so JS API will include JS native types, JS native API, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, but what happens if I will compile with some node version that does not that don't have JS native API.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, that's currently the case in 8. 10, I think 10 and 12 have JS native API. They have the separation. So this again only affects us until the end of 8. So 10 and 12 have the separation. The core of 10 and 12 have the separation.
12 and 10, but I think that not all versions is
Oh,
right.
because yeah, the separation was introduced in a certain version. Yeah.
Only. Yeah. And.
Well, we could. I mean, yeah. I guess. That's a good question.
Oh, so what version? Like, what was the first major version that had that separation?
I did it. I did a research some times ago, but now I lost my notes.
Okay.
I can do this.
I'm fairly certain that 12 has it entirely. 12 started out with the 2 separated, but yeah, Nicola's right. I don't think 10 did.
Yeah, for sure the 10 and the 8 not. Sorry, just a minute. I try to find the notes. If
I'll hide this from the users, but I think it's just that, basically we may need to just say, like, for node 8 and node 10, I guess we can, if we can get the version, we can even tell which one specifically. Like, the only downside is you won't get as much safety as you will in the later versions, right?
But maybe we can check if it's defined. If the JS native macro is defined, and otherwise include.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, no. Wait.
No. Okay.
No, because you can't check if the macro is defined, right? Because you have to include the file for the macro to be defined.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And if the file is not there, then the compiler will bail. So no.
But I don't think it needs to be a blocker, right? Like we're making things better.
Yeah.
In that, like even if for say 8 and 10, it includes N-API dot, the node add-on API or node underscore API dot H versus the individual ones.
Yes, at least they are separated and ready to go for actual proper
Right.
inclusion.
It'll, because there's kind of the two pieces. One, it's like making it so that you don't compile. The only disadvantage to importing the full one versus the subset is that we could make a mistake more easily, right?
Yeah.
But in theory, if we get it right, it doesn't matter. So 8 and 10, we're a little bit more possible of making mistakes. 12 and on, we're protected by the separations that's there.
Yep.
Okay.
And if there is a way to check on the node version, maybe it's worthwhile. But we're only improving things, even if we don't get it right down to the point version.
Yeah, maybe we can create based on our knowledge, based on our matrix, we can define a macro and we pass it in binding JIP. But it's too complicated.
The thing is, we shouldn't be relying on like the node major minor versions in like the headers, right? Because I mean, we could easily say, number if def node major version greater equals something that include JS native API.h, otherwise include node API.h, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we want that in like the production header files, right? Because they're not supposed to be dependent on any node version, right?
Yeah.
So we can't do that, but I'm thinking, can we maybe add some testing code to that, like number if def testing node add-on API, then try to include JS native API alone, and then we can define the testing preprocessor directive in the CI, or in binding JIP, like in test/binding.jip, and then when that is defined, then it will do the strict separation, and then we can test the separation. We can test whether the separation actually works on those node versions which we know have the separated headers in core. So yes, our production stuff would have some testing stuff in there, but it would help us test. So we need to expose this, in order to properly test it and to make sure that when we do perform the separation, that the separation is actually working, before we can actually publish the separation. So that might be something we should consider. But we can do that. We can do that inside this PR, because I think we do have some folks working on it.
Yep.
So you are suggesting to do this work.
Yeah.
And then test and see how to solve this question.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, yeah. So in production, we will include node API.h in both pieces, because we have to, because we don't know if it's separated or not. But we can guard the inclusion of node API.h with like an if not defined testing, right? Otherwise, we can include specifically JS native API.h, because that testing thing will only be defined when we're running the test suite. And then, if we have separated things wrong, then the test suite will fail to compile, and then we will have our answer as to what needs to be fixed in the headers and so forth in order to make that work.
Okay.
So it should help us with the separation. But of course this, but of course this, you know, this if not defined thing else this will show up in a production header. You know, that's the only downside. So
the other downside might be is if we test something different than what we ship.
Well, we can test both. We can test both with
yeah,
the flag
we'd have
on
to
and with the
test
flag
both.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, we'd have to test both.
I mean, the other thing too is if we're already, you know, if 12 has always had it,
yeah,
then we'll get protection in the 12 testing anyway.
Yes, yes, yes. So
So
basically, yeah.
We might just say 8 and 10 include the full header, 12 is including the separation, and maybe that's good enough.
Yeah, but
certainly
do we
the
want
least
to?
Complicated.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Like, what's the chance that we're going to break it such that 12 passes and 8 and 10 fail in terms of the separation? It's probably pretty low likelihood.
Well, but that's just it though, right? We don't test against 10.0.0, right? We always test against the latest 10. And yes, there it will work because it's already separated, right?
But I was saying don't test it separated in 10 and 8. Like basically we'll just 10 and 8, we'll just say you include the Node.js, the full one, that's what we use. And that'll mean whatever people use, regardless of the version, is actually tested. And the fact that 12 will have it separated will most likely catch, if not guaranteed to catch, cases where we don't separate it properly, right?
Okay, but then in our production header we have to say something like if Node.js major version greater or equal 12, then number include JS native API.h #else number include node API.h, right?
Right.
So are we okay with that? Is it okay to make switches like this based on the node major version, given that we are an API and we shouldn't be looking at node major versions?
Right. It ends up being identical.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, I mean, we can think that through. I'm thinking it's probably like the same code will work regardless, right? It's not like we're actually depending on the version. We are.
Well, we can sort of
mull that over. Yeah.
Yeah, we can export it as a flag and say we can leave it up to the developers, you know, to like the way we leave it up to them whether they want to use C++ exceptions or not. You know, that's a flag that we provide,
right?
And it's a degree of freedom in the build system. So we can add another degree of freedom. Do you want separated? Do you want to try for separated headers or not? You know, and then in our tests we can try for separated headers, and we can be pedantic and always use separated headers, and we can base that decision on the Node.js version in binding JIP of the test suite, right? And then we can leave it up to folks. It's normally off. It normally includes everything,
right?
And that's it. So
yeah,
we can basically wrap the decision, the node major version decision, into a degree of freedom that we provide and nobody need to use.
Yeah, and actually maybe the right answer is to run the tests once each way.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that. That's separated or non-separated, although and it depends, like you'll only be able to set the separated on certain versions.
Well, I mean, since setting the separated will be a degree of freedom which we provide to users, they can set it on whatever version they want. But of course, it won't work if they set it
right.
on
Well, yes,
version.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. We'll only work on certain ones.
Yeah, we will set it. We will only set it in the test suite on those versions which we know we need to test.
Right.
So it'll be our tool essentially. But if people want to use it, then by all means, we will not prevent them from using it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, I captured, I think, just enough of that to remind us of what that discussion was. Any other ones we should talk about? We are half an hour over, so maybe we should call it for today unless there's anything key we need to talk about.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, well then, thanks everybody who came, took time to come to the meeting, and those who followed along, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Talk to you all
Bye,
next
everybody.
time. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.